didn't see you there. Welcome to the Taiga. So, what do you know about the Taiga so far? Huh? Not much. Well, Taiga covers about 10% of the Earth's surface, covering most of Canada and Northern America, and a large part of Russia and Scandinavia in Europe and Asia. The Taiga does not extend to the southern hemisphere, as most of the latitudes that the Taiga would cover at that area are covered by ocean. The Taiga has daily temperatures below freezing for about 6 months of the year, and has less than 100 days of frost-free summer, giving a very short growing season. Despite being cold, the air is humid and moist, with more precipitation being added to the environment than what is being lost due to evaporation. This causes the ground to be very damp when there is no snow, and where there is little drainage, bogs and marshland can occur. The Taiga experiences about 12 to 23 inches of precipitation throughout the year, which comes mostly in the form of rain due to the summer months, but also in the form of snow, dew, and other forms of precipitation. The Taiga is susceptible to forest fires, storms, and insect outbreaks. It is highly susceptible to forest fires in the summer when everything is dried out, but these are naturally occurring within the biome and do no lasting damage. The Taiga generally lacks diversity in both its flora and fauna. There are only about some 20 major species present in the North American boreal forests. Most of the plants and animal species present in the Taiga are similar in both Europe and North America. This is due to the fact that the Bering Strait, which connected Russia and Alaska during the last ice age, was once frozen over, allowing for the transfer of species between the two areas. So, does anyone know about primary productivity? Well, for those of you who don't, gross primary productivity is the total energy created by an area of vegetation within a given unit of space and over a given time. Net primary productivity is the leftover energy produced by vegetation after being used by the plant within a given unit of space and over a given time. Taiga, or boreal forest as it's also known, has a lower net primary productivity than most other biomes, with only 3,500 kilocalories per square meter per year. This is only about a third of the net primary productivity of the rainforest, which is about 9,000 kilocalories per square meter per year, but it's still about 18 times more than the desert, which only has about 300 kilocalories per square meter per year. I know all of you have been asking, Alex, what are the primary producers and consumers of the Taiga? Well, I'm glad you asked. For those of you who don't know, producers are the initial source of energy within the environment. They are plant life that can generate sugar through photosynthesis. In the Taiga, the main producers are conifers, whose needles, cones, seeds, and even bark can be consumed. There are also certain shrubs in the Taiga that can provide berries. The Taiga is dominated by conifers. These include spruces and firs, which are common to the dark Taiga, which is the more densely packed area, where little light can filter through to the bottom layers. Then there are pines and larches, which are more common in the light Taiga, where it's less densely forested. There's even one type of pine, called the jack pine, which relies on fire to open up its pine cones and spread its seeds. There's not many shrubs or much ground foliage in the Taiga, because the pine needles from conifers release toxins when they decompose. In addition, most of the Taiga is covered by dense forest, so there's very little light that gets down to the bottom levels. One of the few shrubs that there are is the alder. They survive through a symbiotic relationship with fungi. The fungi fixes or takes nitrogen, which is an important plant nutrient, from the air, and in return, the alder gives the fungi a safe, stable home. Primary consumers are animals that eat the producers, or what they produce for energy. One example of this is the capercaillie, which eats needles from conifers. They do this through a specialized digestive system that allows them to get the most calories out of the needle. When night comes, they bury themselves in snow for shelter. Another example is the caterpillar of the black-veined white butterfly, which eats the leaves of broadleaf trees in the taiga. When the caterpillar hibernates, or overwinters as it's called, it bundles itself into a nest of hawthorn tree leaves and closes it with a bit of silk. Secondary consumers are carnivores that eat the herbivores or primary consumers for energy. One example of these is the woodpecker, which eats bark-eating beetles. They are adapted to do this because they have a beak which is able to drill into trees, which helps them seek out their food. Another example is the lynx, which eats hares and other small mammals, and has specialized claws that will act as snowshoes, which allow them to move around. And it also has a thick coat, which keeps it warm against the cold of the taiga. Tertiary consumers are other animals that eat the secondary consumers for energy. One example of these is the goshawk, which eats smaller insect-eating birds. They have long, slender talons that allow them to catch their avian prey. Wolves, though they're normally secondary consumers, can be tertiary if they eat something like a shrew, which eats primary consumers. They have a thick fur, which also helps them keep off the cold. Despite all these lovely little creatures and trees, there are things that threaten the taiga. These are their minor threats. One of these many threats is clear cutting, which is a practice of logging where large tracts of forests are cleared away for timber without leaving any kind of ground cover. By doing this, the soil can be eroded with rain, taking away all of the area's nutrients, thus making it more difficult for plant life to regrow. In addition, the runoff can pollute nearby rivers and lakes. Another threatened biome are fires. Though these are normally naturally occurring within the taiga, human interference either directly through setting forest fires or indirectly through global warming, which dries out the taiga, has increased the frequency of fires in this biome. Though most species can deal with the fire, and it is a good way to renew the ecosystem, having fires too frequently does not allow the species ample time to recover. Another threat is air pollution. Air pollution, and more specifically, acid deposition caused by the release of sulfur into the atmosphere, acutely affects the taiga. For one, most water sources in taiga lack compounds that neutralize acid rain, making the sources more acidic, which kills much of their plant life. In addition, air pollution affects the growth of most coniferous trees, which dominate the taiga. Yet another threat to the taiga is the introduction of exotic species. These species, released intentionally or unintentionally, can disrupt the balance of the ecosystems within the taiga and can become invasive. For example, raccoon dogs, which were released into the Siberian taiga for fur trapping, have slowly moved towards Sweden, where they have become a nuisance to local birds and animals. The final threat to the taiga is industrial pollution. Drilling of natural gas and oil, especially in the Siberian taiga, has created large amounts of pollution in the form of runoff, greatly affecting both the plant and animal life of the region. Well, that's all for today. I hope you learned something about the taiga.